Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravajakacharya Satirasata Shishima Jagatguru Siddhaswarup Ananda Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravajakacharya Satirasata Shishima His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganges Maya Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Nittai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga, Gaur Premananda. Namo Vishnu Vinaya Krishna Krishna Mati Saraswati Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pachamani Nirvase Sasyana Om Jnanatamarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshulun Militam Jena Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamaya Dadati Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual masters have opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter at his lotus feet? Haribol. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Haribol Madri, hope you're feeling better.
Haribol Drsya, thanks.
Haribol Suzanne, thanks for joining us today. So today we're going to be continuing with the 5th chapter, the 8th canto, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And the chapter is titled, The Demigods Appeal to the Lord. So far in the 8th canto, we've heard the description of Jagendra's crisis and how he was saved by Krishna, came down in Garuda and killed the crocodile and gave him Sarupya Mukti and took him back to the spiritual world. And now the demigods are having trouble with the demons again. And so they've gone to Lord Brahma to get his advice, and Lord Brahma's taken them to the ocean of milk, where they're praying to Lord Vishnu for help. And these are Lord Brahma's prayers. We're kind of in the middle of them. Starting with text 23. Now is the time to invoke the mode of goodness of the living entities who have accepted material bodies. The mode of goodness is meant to establish the Lord's rule, which will maintain the existence of the creation. Therefore, this is the opportune moment to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he is naturally very kind and dear to the demigods, he will certainly bestow good fortune upon us. Report by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The material world is conducted by the 3 modes of nature, namely Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tamo Guna. By Raja Guna, everything material is created. By Sattva Guna, everything material is maintained properly. And by Tamo Guna, when the creation is improperly situated, everything is destroyed. From this verse, we can understand the situation of Kali Yuga, through which we are now passing. just before the beginning of Kali Yuga, or, in other words, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, Lord Sri Krishna appeared and left his instructions in the form of Bhagavad Gita, in which he asked all living entities to surrender unto him. Since the beginning of Kali Yuga, however, people have practically been unable to surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. And therefore, after some 5,000 years, Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to teach the entire world how to surrender unto him, under Sri Krishna, and thus be purified. Surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna means achieving complete purification. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarva dharmam parityajya mamikam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva prabhevyo moksha yimami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Thus, as soon as one surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, one certainly becomes free from all contamination. Kali Yuga is full of contamination. This is described in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 12.3.51. Kaler dosha nidhi rajan ashtihi eko mahan guna. Kiratan eva Krishna shya mukta sarga param yajet. This age of Kali is full of unlimited faults. Indeed, it is just like an ocean of faults, dosha nidhi. But there is one chance, one opportunity. Kirtanad eva Krishnaya mukta sangha param vrajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can be freed from the contamination of Kali Yuga and, in his original spiritual body, can return home back to Godhead. This is the opportunity of Kali Yuga. When Krishna appeared, he gave his orders, and when Krishna himself appeared as a devotee, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed us the path by which to cross the ocean of Kali Yuga. That is the path of Hare Krishna, of the Hare Krishna movement. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he ushered in the era for the Sankirtan movement. It is said that for 10,000 years, this era will continue. This means that simply by accepting the Sankirtan movement and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the fallen souls of this Kali Yuga will be delivered. After the battle of Kurukshetra, at which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Kali Yuga continues for 432,000 years, of which only 5,000 years have passed. Thus, there is still a balance of 427,000 years to come. Of these 427,000 years, the 10,000 years of the Sankirtan movement, inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, provide the opportunity for the fallen souls of Kali Yuga to take the Krishna consciousness movement, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and thus be delivered from the clutches of material existence and return home back to Godhead. Chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is potent always, but it is especially potent in this age of Kali. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami, while instructing Maharaj Parikshit, stressed this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Kaler dosha nidhi rajan ashtihi eko mahan guna. Kirtanad eva Krishna shya mukta sangha param vrajet. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. It is that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 12.3.51. Those who have accepted the task of spreading the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in full Krishna consciousness should take this opportunity to deliver people very easily from the clutches of material existence. Our duty, therefore, is to follow the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and preach the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world very sincerely. This is the best welfare activity for the peace and prosperity of human society. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement consists of spreading Krishna Sankirtan. Param Vrijyate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. All glories to Shri Krishna Sankirtan. Why is it so glorious? This has also been explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. By the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one's heart is cleansed. The whole difficulty is that in this age of Kali, there is no sattva guna and no clearance of the heart. And therefore, people are making the mistake of identifying with their bodies. Even the big philosophers and scientists with whom we deal are practically all under the impression that they are their bodies. The other day, we were discussing a prominent philosopher, Thomas Huxley, who was proud of being an Englishman. This means bodily conception of life. Everywhere we find this same misunderstanding. As soon as one is in the bodily conception of life, one is nothing but an animal, like a cat or a dog. Sa eva go kraha. Thus, the most dangerous of the dirty things within our hearts is this misidentification of the body as the self. Under the influence of this misunderstanding, one thinks, I am this body. I am an Englishman. I am an Indian. I am an American. I am a Hindu. I am a Muslim. This misconception is the strongest impediment and must be removed. That is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, Bhagavad Gita begins with this instruction. Dinosmin yata dehi koraram yavana jara tata dehantara praktir diras tatra namuyate. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. Although the soul is within the body, nevertheless, because of misunderstanding and animal propensities, one accepts the body as the self. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. To cleanse the core of the heart, which is full of misunderstanding, is possible only through Sri Krishna Sankirtan. The leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement should very seriously take this opportunity to be kind to the fallen souls by delivering them from the misunderstanding of materialistic life. One cannot be happy in any way within this material world, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 8:16. Abrahma bhuvana loka purna darvitorjana. From the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. Therefore, do not speak of going back to the moon. Therefore, do not speak of going to the moon, even if one is promoted to the highest planetary system, Brahma Loka. There cannot be any happiness in the material world. If one actually wants happiness, one must go to the spiritual world. The material world is characterized by a struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest is a well-known principle. But the poor souls of this material world do not know what is survival and who is fit. Survival does not mean that one should die. Survival means one should not die, but should enjoy an everlasting blissful life of knowledge. This is survival. The Krishna consciousness movement makes every person fit for survival. Indeed, it is meant to stop the struggle for existence. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and Bhagavad Gita give definite directions on how to stop the struggle for existence and how to survive in eternal life. The Sankirtan movement, therefore, is a great opportunity. Simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one becomes completely purified. Thus, the struggle for existence ceases and one goes back home, back to Godhead. Quite the purport, yes? The mode of goodness is meant to establish the Supreme Lord's rule, which will maintain the existence of the creation. Therefore, this is the opportune moment to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he is naturally very kind and dear to the demigods, he will certainly bestow good fortune upon us. So in the previous verse, in the purport, I think it was there, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada explained the difference between the demigods and the demons. And he explained that the demigods, the devas, are those who worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone else is an asura. Sura, S-U-R-A, in Sanskrit means a saintly person. So when you put an A on the front of it, it means the opposite of that. So a non-saintly person is an asura, or a common term in English tends to be a demon. But language is kind of tricky, right? We tend to have different contexts that we apply to words. And so when we think of a demon, we think of somebody who's very overtly evil, right? We think of somebody who's, consciously trying to do harm to others and has no good qualities, practically speaking. But this is not the actual definition of an asura. An asura is someone who is opposed to Krishna's attempt to bring everyone back to him in the spiritual world, to enjoy eternal loving exchanges. One can be materialistically very pious. He can be opening many hospitals. He can be doing all kinds of humanitarian work. He can be very pleasant to deal with in so many ways. But if he's working against the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to help everyone find their ultimate happiness of entering into actual loving exchanges, then this is a demoniac personality. So, and it was mentioned in one of the previous purports that Hiranyakashipu was a great devotee of Lord Brahma. And who was it? There's another one example given. Was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. But they were very demoniac people nonetheless. But they were worshiping the demigods. They worshiping the demigods to get material opulence and power and whatever. But this is the actual definition. A demigod or a sura or a saintly person is anyone who is linked up with Krishna and will. And what is Krishna's will? Krishna's will is that everyone be happy, that everyone be experiencing the most wonderful, loving exchanges. This is Krishna. Krishna is the all-attractive personality, the well-wisher of everyone. But in this world is for those who have somehow or another come to the point of being adverse to the will of Krishna. Krishna being very kind, he's given us this material world to come and play in. But if anyone, like anyone who's ever observed a school ground playground, right? The play very quickly turns to fighting and conflict. And it's not the simple, joyous play of Krishna and the cowherd boys in the forest, even when they're being a bit mischievous and stealing the lunch bag from one boy and passing it to the other and teasing one another with joking words and this and that. It's all very good-natured, and it's all very loving, and it's all very wonderful. I took my 6-year-old granddaughter to the park down the street the other day. There were some other kids there, and everybody was pretty bored, so we kind of got them together and started. She has this little game. It's a little fabric thing that looks like a potato, and it's called hot potato. And it's got this little device inside it, and you squeeze it, and it starts playing this music. And so the idea is you toss it back and forth to each other, and whoever gets caught holding the thing when the music stops, they get a potato card. And after you get 3 potato cards, you lose the game and you start over again, right? Simple little game, just kind of fun, just tossing this thing back and forth. There's this little boy, he's probably about 5 or 6. And the guy is so heavy in the mode of passion. He can't just toss the potato to the next person. He has to take it and throw it at them as hard as he possibly can, right? And it's hitting the wall and it stops playing the music. So you got to break the thing, And instead of just, having this friendly game of da-da-da, he's got to turn it into this thing where he's trying to just dominate, right? He's going to smash. Not only is he going to, it's not enough to, play the game and try to get somebody to get stuck with it. He's got to smash them in the meantime. So when I say, okay, no more, you can't play like that. This is a game of, you toss it, right? You got to play nice, So then what does he do? He sits there and he figures out about how long it is. And he stands there and he holds it the whole time till he's just about to go off. Then he throws it to the next person, right? Trying to game the system, manipulate the thing. He just can't have fun, right? Without trying to cheat and, whatever. I says, dude, it's a hot potato. It's burning your hands, right? But no, he just can't get into the mood of it. It's just got to. So this is the material world. It was just so interesting to see the entire nature, the material world epitomized just in this little playground, with these 6-year-old kids. I go, wow, this is Kali Yuga. Hi, Kati.
Hi, Bo, namaste. Sorry I'm late. Just
glad you could make it. So this is the devotee sees this situation and he sees Krishna as so much wanting everyone to come back and have fun in the spiritual world. So he just engages in Krishna's service and trying to help everybody out, purifying them of these unfortunate contaminations of the heart, as it was spoken of in here. Chepo Darpanam Marjanam. Cleanse the core of the heart by this chanting. Well, okay. That's one verse. Let's see how far we get today. Text 24. Oh, and as always, if anybody has anything they want to comment on or add or have some kind of experience that any of these verses or purports reminds them of and how this applies in their life or applied in their life, feel free to just jump in and share it with the rest of us. Text 24. O Maharaj Parikshit, subduer of all enemies, after Lord Brahma finished speaking to the demigods, he took them with him to the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is beyond this material world. The Lord's abode is on an island called Swetadweep, which is situated in the ocean of milk. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit is addressed herein as Arindama, subduer of all enemies. Not only do we have enemies outside our bodies, but within our bodies there are many enemies, such as lusty desires, anger, and greed. Maharaj Parikshit is specifically addressed as Arindama because in his political life he was able to subdue all kinds of enemies, and even though he was a young king, as soon as he heard that he was going to die within 7 days, he immediately left his kingdom. He did not follow the dictates of enemies within his body, such as lust, greed, and anger. He was not at all angry with the Muni's son who had cursed him. Rather, he accepted the curse and prepared for his death in the association of Sukadeva Goswami. Death is inevitable. No one can surpass the force of death. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit, while fully alive, wanted to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. He is consequently addressed here as Arindama. Another word, Surya Priya, is also significant. Although Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is equal toward everyone, he is especially inclined toward his devotees. Ye jabanti tu mam bhaktya mai te teshu chapiyaham. The devotees are all demigods. There are two kinds of men within this world. One is called the Deva, and the other is called the Asura. The Padma Purana states, Dva bhuta sarga lokeshmin, Daiva Asura eva cha, Vishnu bhakta smrito Daiva, Asurastad viparayaha. Anyone who is a devotee of Lord Krishna is called a Deva, and others, even though they may be devotees of demigods, are called Asuras. Ravana, for example, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but he is described here as an Asura. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu is described as a great devotee of Lord Brahma, yet he also was an Asura. Therefore, only the devotee of Lord Vishnu is Asura, not Asura. Lord Krishna is very much pleased with his devotees, even if they are not on the topmost stage of devotional service. Even on the lower stages of devotional service, one is transcendental, and if one continues with devotional life, he continues to be a Deva or Sura. If one continues in this way, Krishna will always be pleased with him and will give him all instructions so that he may very easily return home back to Godhead. Concerning Adhishtashta Padan, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the milk ocean of this material world, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Padam Kishora Das Deta Swetapam Tamasha Prikritam Param. The island known as Swetadweep, which is in the ocean of milk, is transcendental. It has nothing to do with this material world. A city government may have a rest house where the governor and important government officers stay. Such a rest house is not an ordinary house. Similarly, although Swetadweep, which is in the ocean of milk, is in this material world, it is Parampadam, transcendental. So I guess I got ahead of myself with talking about Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. There we go. But this is so encouraging, this point that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is making, that even on the lower stages of devotional service, one is transcendental. And if one continues with devotional life, he continues to be a deva or sura. If one continues in this way, Krishna will always be pleased with him and will give him all instructions so that he may very easily return home back to God. So we find that as we read in the previous chapter, Krishna is incessantly trying to get the individual souls to return home back to Godhead. It's interesting, this example they give of Swaitadweep within the material world. It's like Vrindavan, right? Vrindavan is considered to be the spiritual world. But Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada are saying that you can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan. Right? You go there unless one sees Vrindavan with eyes tainted with love. You don't really see Vrindavan. It still has its purifying effects, but you can't really appreciate it as it is. But living here in Honolulu in Hawaii, we have all these embassies of all these different nations here, right? So you got the Filipino embassy here, you have the Korean embassy over there, you got all these different embassies. And these embassies, even though they're situated on American soil, are considered to be extensions of the countries that they represent. And our laws don't apply there, right? It's like you go there, and you're in the embassy, you're a Korean citizen, and you go to the embassy, then you can take shelter in that embassy. And even if you have some difficulty with the Americans, they can help you try to resolve that. So Swaitadweep is kind of like Krishna's embassy in the material world. And that's where Lord Brahma takes the demigods when there's problems. You remember from Krishna book, when Bhumi came to him with all her woes, he took everyone to the ocean of milk, and there he sat in meditation and offered prayers to Lord Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And Kshirodakshai Vishnu responded to Lord Brahma within the heart, and then Lord Brahma conveyed the message that he would very soon appear in this world, and all the demigods should take birth to support his activities. Text 25. There at Swaitadweep, Lord Brahma offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though he had never seen the Supreme Lord. Simply because Lord Brahma had heard about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from Vedic literature, with a fixed mind, he offered the Lord's prayers as written or approved by the Vedic literature. Purport. It is said that when Brahma and the other demigods go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Swaitadweep, they cannot directly see him, but their prayers are heard by the Lord, and the needful action is taken. This we have seen in many instances. The word Shruta Pravraya is very significant. We get experience by directly seeing or by hearing. If it is not possible to see someone directly, we can hear about it from authentic sources. Sometimes people ask whether we can show them God. This is ludicrous. It is not necessary for one to see God before he can accept God. Our sensory perception is always incomplete. Therefore, even if we see God, we may not be able to understand him. When Krishna was on earth, many, many people saw him, but could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Avajanti mam mudha manusham tanam ahrishtam. Even though the rascals and fools saw Krishna personally, they could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even upon seeing God personally, one who is unfortunate cannot understand him. Therefore, we have to hear about God, Krishna, from the authentic Vedic literature and from persons who understand the Vedic version properly. Even though Brahma had not seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead before, he was confident that the Lord was there in Swetadweep. Thus, he took the opportunity to go there and offer prayers to the Lord. So this is a very important point. People are always thinking that it's so important to be able to see God. Place so much, right, importance on the information that we get from these little gelatas, whatever, orbs within our head, right? Hooked up by these nerves to go back to the brain and create this image somehow within our brain, within our mind. Right? We're all looking around, we're all seeing things. We turn our head this way, we turn that way, we see this, we see that. How's that happening? We don't know. Nobody knows. It's Krishna's energy. It's Krishna's magic. But more important than seeing, right now they're starting to realize this in the criminal justice system. There's all these people that have been convicted with so-called eyewitness testimony. And then they're coming back with DNA evidence that proves that that person couldn't have committed the crime. He wasn't there, whatever, right? It's this eyewitness testimony, the strength, the information that we receive from the eyes is not only incomplete, it's unreliable. So this feeling that we have to be able to see God is totally without merit. It's much more important to hear God within our heart, take instructions from him, and then act on those instructions. In that way, our hearts can become purified, Chaito Darpana Marjana, and then we can see God with our spiritual vision instead of our material vision. Continuing with the purport. These prayers were not ordinary concocted prayers. Prayers must be approved by Vedic literature, as indicated in this verse by the words Daiva Bir Grikbi. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we do not allow any song that has not been approved or sung by bona fide devotees. We cannot allow cinema songs to be sung in the temple. We generally sing two songs. One is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. This is bona fide. It is always mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is accepted by the Acharyas. The other one, of course, is the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We may also sing the songs of Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Lochana Das Thakur. But these two songs, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, are sufficient to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although we cannot see him. Seeing the Lord is not as important as appreciating him from the authentic literature or authentic statements of authorized persons. And of course, the main point here is that these two songs are sufficient to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. the chanting that we do is meant to be an offering to Krishna. It's meant to be pleasing him. Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is non-different from his names. Therefore, Krishna is even attracted to himself. When someone's attracted to themselves in this material world, it's a real problem, right? A narcissist, we call it. Causes all kinds of problems in society and this and that, and causes all kinds of problems in the person's life. But when Krishna is attracted to Krishna, it's natural. It's wonderful. It's, you know, the way things should be. Huh?
That reminds me of, Haribol, that reminds me of something in the Krishna book where it says that, you know, Krishna, every morning he would wake up early and meditate upon himself.
Yes.
You know, to show us by example that what you're supposed to do is wake up early and meditate on him. Anyway, every time I think about it, it just gives me a big kick. I love it.
And there's another passage, where is it, where he was walking by a polished piece of metal or something and saw his reflection and just got captivated. You know, and just stopped and was, wow, who's that beautiful person? And just, oh, it's me. Okay. But the point I was making was, our objective should be to be pleasing to Krishna. You know, when we actually go before, where it's recommended that we have an altar in our home, and we go to that altar and we make offerings to Krishna, and we dance and chant and play musical instruments for him. And it's not, yes, it's good that we see Krishna. It purifies the heart, it purifies the mind. But we should also be doing it with the attitude is that we're there to perform for Krishna. Darshan actually means that we're being seen by Krishna. It is more important than us seeing Krishna in that sense. We're there to entertain Krishna. We're there to serve Krishna. We're there to please Krishna. And so it's not like it's just, okay, Krishna, entertain me, right? I've gotten up, I've come here, I've done this, make me happy. No, we should be going in front of Krishna with the attitude of, what can I do to entertain you, Krishna? Oh, let me offer you some nice foodstuffs. Let me offer you some nice articles in the artik, some nice ghee lamps, some nice incense, some nice fans, some nice flowers. Let me sing nicely as I can, to nice melodious tunes. Let me play these instruments as nicely as I can. Entertain you in some way while you have your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner. It's not just all about, you know, oh, Krishna, I've come here. Now purify me so I can be happy. Right? That's another part of the whole Krishna's being my servant. Right? He's my waiter. He's bringing me this. He's bringing me that. Well, he's also, we wanted to bring us our liberation, bring us our peace of mind, so we can want to bring him, make my heart pure, Krishna, so I can get rid of these lusty desires, so I can finally find some peace. No, this is not the right attitude. The right attitude is we simply try to learn, relearn, to give our heart, give our affection. And then everything else falls into place. All the other things get crowded out by that love for Krishna. Where are we? Text 26. Lord Brahma said, O Supreme Lord, O changeless, unlimited Supreme Truth, you are the origin of everything. Being all-pervading, you are in everyone's heart. and also in the atom. You have no material qualities. Indeed, you are inconceivable. The mind cannot catch you by speculation, and words fail to describe you. You are the supreme master of everyone, and therefore you are worshipable for everyone. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not anything of material creation. Everything material must change from one form to another. For example, from earth to earthen pot, and from earthen pot to earth again. All our creations are temporary, impermanent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is eternal, and similarly, the living entities who are parts of him are also eternal. Mamaivam sho jiva loke jiva bhutaha sanatanaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sanatan, eternal, and the individual living entities are also eternal. The difference is that Krishna, or God, is the supreme eternal, whereas the individual souls are minute, fragmental eternals. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 13.3, Kshetra Jnanam Chapi Man Vidi Sarvam Kshetrashu Bharata. Although the Lord is a living being, and the individual souls are living beings, the Supreme Lord, unlike the individual souls, is Vibhu, all-pervading, and Ananta, unlimited. The Lord is the cause of everything. The living entities are innumerable, but the Lord is one. No one is greater than him, and no one is equal to him. Thus the Lord is the supreme worshipable object, as understood from the Vedic mantras, Nata samas chas drishyate. The Lord is supreme because no one can evaluate him by mental speculation or jugglery of words. The Lord can travel more quickly than the mind. In the Shruti mantras of the Ishopanishad, it is said, Anijad ekam manasyo jaivyo, naina deva anupavam param ashat, ta davato nayan ayete shtishtat, tajmen apo mantarishva dahati. Although fixed in his abode, this personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain. He surpasses all in excellence. Sri Ishopanishad 4. Thus, the Supreme is never to be equaled by the subordinate living entities. Because the Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and the individual living entity is not, never should the individual living entity be equated with the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanavishta. I am situated in everyone's heart. This does not mean, however, that everyone is equal to the Lord. In the Shruti mantras, it is also said, Hridi hi yatam atma pratishtata. In the beginning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, it is said, Satyam param daimahi. The Vedic mantras say, Satyam jnanam anantam and nishkalam nishkriyam, sanatam niravidyam. God is supreme. Although naturally he does not do anything, he is doing everything. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Mayatatam idam sarvam jagadatyakta manaritam. Matstani sarvabhutani nachaham tesha avashtitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Bhagavad Gita 9:4. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sa chara charam. Hetunena kunteya jagat viparvavartate. This material nature, working under my direction, O son of Kunti, is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Thus, although the Lord is silent in his abode, he is doing everything through his different energies. Parashya Shaktir Vidhyaiva Suryate. All the Vedic mantras or Shruti mantras are included in this verse spoken by Lord Brahma. For Brahma and his followers, the Brahma Sampradaya, that's us guys, understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the Parampara system. We have to gain understanding through the words of our predecessors. There are 12 Mahajans or authorities, of whom Brahma is one. Swayambhu Naradasambho Kurma ha Kapilo Muno Palada ho Janaka Bhishmo Balir Vakashir Vayam. Bhagavatam 6.3.20. We belong to the disciplic succession of Brahma, and therefore we are known as the Brahma Sampradaya. As the demigods follow Lord Brahma to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we also have to follow the authorities of the Parampara system to understand the Lord. If one can simply hear the message of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam as presented in the Brahma Sampradaya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, all truth is revealed. You don't have to be extremely intelligent. You don't have to be any material qualification whatsoever. If you simply hear with a sincere desire to be pleasing to Krishna, and be pleasing to his representatives, Krishna will reveal himself to you within. And with that realization comes the peace that we need to live a happy life. Even though we will still be experiencing the Adi-atmic, Adi-bodhic, and Adi-daivic of this material world, the sufferings of the mind, the body, and other living entities, and natural disasters, you'll find that they don't have any real effect on your core of your life. Bummers come and bummers go. Happiness, so-called happiness, comes and happiness goes. But at your very core, you're steady. You're not overwhelmed. This is the gift of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's that wonderful story of the illiterate Brahmin that Lord Chaitanya came across when he was touring South India after he'd taken sannyas and moved to Jagannath Puri. He was in this big temple, and there was this Brahmin who had a Bhagavad Gita, and he was holding this Bhagavad Gita, and he was crying. Lord Chaitanya approached him and said, "What is going on with you?" basically. And the Brahmin explained that, my spiritual master has instructed me that every day I must read Bhagavad Gita. But unfortunately, I'm illiterate. I don't know how to read Sanskrit. But I'm simply trying. But people laugh at me, and they, say I'm not pronouncing things correctly, or this or that, or don't have any understanding. Lord Chaitanya says, "But why are you crying?" And he responded, "When I see this picture of Lord Krishna acting as the charioteer of his devotee Arjuna, it simply makes me weep. That Krishna is so kind that he serves his devotee, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he enters into this competition with his devotees, trying to see who can outserve the other." And when I think of Krishna serving Arjuna in this way, and not just, it's one thing to serve, let me get you something to drink. No, he's out there on the battlefield, driving the chariot. There's all this dust, there's all this noise, there's all these people screaming in pain, there's blood, there's all this mayhem. Arjuna's barking orders at him, "Turn left, turn right, go here, go there." And Krishna is simply following Arjuna's instructions. A chariot driver is considered a Sudra, not even considered a Kshatriya, considered a Sudra. Krishna was the king of all of Dwarka. And he's there, and he's acting as as Arjuna's chariot driver. And this realization that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of love for the conditioned souls, has made this whole big arrangement and set the scene so that he could speak Bhagavad Gita to his devotee Arjuna for the benefit of all the fallen souls in Kali Yuga, to help them put an end to their endless suffering from living in the material world, brought into tears. And Lord Chaitanya says, "Yes, you are the true knower of Bhagavad Gita. You have realized Bhagavad Gita in full." He couldn't read the words. Sometimes he had the Bhagavad Gita upside down, whatever, But it didn't matter. There's no material qualification for giving one's heart to Krishna. And when one tries to give one's heart to Krishna, then Krishna gives us everything we need to allow us to approach him nicely. Is it right time for another one? Yeah. Text 27. The Supreme Personality of Godhead directly and indirectly knows everything, including the living force, mind, and intelligence is working under his control. He is the illuminator of everything and has no ignorance. He does not have a material body subject to the reactions of previous activities. and he is free from the ignorance of partiality and materialistic education. I therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is eternal, all-pervading, and as great as the sky, and who appears with 6 opulences in three yugas, Satya, Treta, and Dwapara. Purport. In the beginning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in this way. Janmariyasya yato nayat uttaras chetashu abhigna. The Lord is the origin of all emanations, and he directly and indirectly knows everything about all the activities within his creation. Therefore, the Lord is addressed here as Vipaschishtam, one who is in full knowledge or one who knows everything. The Lord is the Supreme Soul, and he knows everything about the living entities and their senses. This is important to understand. Krishna knows you. He knows your innermost thoughts. There's no hiding anything from Krishna. We all stand exposed. And yet, even though he sees all these very dirty things within our heart, he still loves us unconditionally. Therefore, we don't have to prove anything to Krishna. We don't have to buy Krishna's love. We don't have to earn Krishna's love. We don't have to do anything great within this world to be pleasing to Krishna. We simply have to make an endeavor to come to the point of being able to give our affection to Krishna. Continuing the purport. The word Anidram, meaning always awake and free from ignorance, is very important in this verse. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Matashmitir Jnanam Apanon Cha. It is the Lord who gives intelligence to everyone and who causes everyone to forget. There are millions and millions of living entities, and the Lord gives them directions. Therefore, he has no time to sleep, and he is never in ignorance of our activities. The Lord is the witness of everything. He sees what we are doing at every moment. The Lord is not covered by a body resulting from karma. Our bodies are formed as a result of our past deeds. Karmana daiva nitrena. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not have a material body, and therefore he has no avidya, ignorance. He does not sleep, but is always alert and awake. The Supreme Lord is described as Tri Yuga because, although he appeared variously in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga, when he appeared in Kali Yuga, he never declared himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Varnam Triksha Krishnam Sangapakan Trashta Parshadam. The Lord appears in Kali Yuga as a devotee. Thus, although he is Krishna, he chants the Hare Krishna mantra like a devotee. Still, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 11.5.32 recommends Jagna Sankirtan Praner Jayanti Hi Same Mahasha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose complexion is not black like that of Krishna, but what is golden, Drsya Krsna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is accompanied by associates like Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas. Those who are sufficiently intelligent worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing the Sankirtan Yajna. In this incarnation, the Supreme Lord declares himself not to be the Supreme Lord, and therefore he is known as Triyuga, 3 yugas only. So I think we'll stop there. Anyone have anything they'd like to add or comment on? Question?
Hi, Bo, namaste. Please accept
Haribol,
my
Kati.
obeisances. Hi, Bo. When it was said that Krishna appears in 3 yugas, full of 6 opulences, in Kali Yuga, he's also full of 6 opulences, right? As Lord Chaitanya.
Yes, but he didn't reveal himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only to his most intimate devotees. During his Mahaprakash kirtans at Srivasa's house in Navadvip, it was the only time he allowed himself to be worshipped as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the other times he required everyone to relate to him as a devotee instead of the Supreme.
Thank you.
See the difference?
Yeah, I see the difference. I was just a little confused when it says he appeared with 6 opulences in 3 yugas. But he has all 6 opulences always, right?
Yeah, he always has. He can't get rid of them. It's just... The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhāgavatam, they're so sweet. You know, I especially attracted to the relationship between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur. Just their interactions are so wonderful. Anything else? Well, I never turned off original sound. You guys are able to hear okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was.
All right, we'll chant for a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Haribol. Thank you.
Namo Sera Swarupana Paramahamsa Namo Gora Karuna Swami Radha Krishna Pristayate
Krishna
Nivasesha Vastantam Ishatam Raja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadeva Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Jaya Radha Shri Govinda Gopinatha Radha Sweet Krishna, I am yours and you are mine. Haribol.